Thanks a lot for the introduction. Happy to be here. First question, who was watching soccer yesterday night? You don't dare anymore to tell. I know, I understand. I'm sorry for this. I was also not happy to see what happened with the German team, I have to say. Lucky as a Swiss, we're going to the next round. Well, it's usually then it's the last game we play and then we're out usually. So not a lot of ambitions, but still. Yeah, very happy to be here. It's the second time. I hope there's not too many redundancy into my presentations. Even repetition sometimes is good. There are some best practices slides I already showed the last time when I was here. Just a few words to myself. So my name is Rutishauser. I work for Inacta since the beginning of the year. I'm head of blockchain and head of financial services. Besides that, I have a second life. I also import wines from Bulgaria, and I created the crypto wines. So I combined my passion and the professional life together, and it's going quite well in Switzerland. The agenda is the following. I will talk a bit about the crypto valley. For sure, you heard of it already. Somebody in the room who haven't heard yet? Okay, great. Only one. And then I will elaborate a bit on best practices. So what we have seen the last 1.5, 2 years, we are working in the space now. First focus is on the ICO side, and the other is then a little bit more on blockchain solution in general. And I will end with a call to action. I'll come to that a little bit later. So let's have it open. If you have some questions, just ask, and I try to answer. So you're all here because you think blockchain is something good, and actually, as a matter of fact, it is trendy. We all know that, especially we who are living in the bubble. But you see there on the chart on the left-hand side, Google search trends. For instance, since mid of last year, a lot of people are looking after blockchain. So there are other digitization enablers there, like big data and artificial intelligence, but the blue curve is the blockchain curve. So there are far more people who are looking after blockchain topic, and this is a clear indicator also that it is trendy. The big question is actually where we stand in the hype curve. Usually you can only say it when you look backwards in time. So we don't know, and there are a lot of indications right now that we are over the peak, but we cannot say it. When we compare to 25 years ago when World Wide Web arised, it also took a couple of years after the technology was here, so HTTP protocol, HTML, until the first huge platform arose, and then we started to really know how to use the technology, the web apps came and so on. So what I want to say with this is we're also very early. So we very clearly in a very early adoption stage, and we don't know yet which platform will survive or what kind of applications we will see. We have some ideas, but whether they realize or not, we don't know yet. And times are changing very fast, and we will come to that a little bit later on. But as a matter of fact also, there's a lot of things going on, and there's an explosion of platforms. Not sure whether you already saw a similar slide like this, but it's amazing. Since 2013 until now we have more than 1,500 different platforms. Actually, I think I just read another number, it was 1,800. It's amazing. And what you see on the bottom is also the proportion of Bitcoin in this soup. So the dominance of Bitcoin gets less and less. Still, it's a very important platform, no doubt about this. It will evolve also, but the dominance is getting less and less. So what is also very important in the blockchain area, not only when we look at cryptocurrency, but also for other tokens, is regulation. Because quite often, almost with all the tokens, you are somehow affected with regulations. And what is very clear, and I think it's obvious, the more clear a regulation is, the more clarity is there, the more liberal it is, usually you attract more startups because it's easier to do your project in this jurisdiction. And this is a fact that Crypto Valley, so this is basically Liechtenstein and Switzerland, the market authorities, FMA in Liechtenstein and FIMA in Switzerland, they are quite liberal and they're moving quite fast. So we've had the first circulars beginning of the year, a little bit before BaFin also established the circular, but they already went far than BaFin did. So they made a clear distinction between the tokens, and they said already which laws will be applied. Still, there's some work to do, no doubt about this, but it already helped to accelerate the adoption rate of new startups coming to Crypto Valley. On the right-hand side, you see a galaxy chart of all the different categories of ICO and projects happened in Switzerland and Liechtenstein the last 2 years. I know you cannot read it; it's too small. There are always the sources on the slides, so you can have to go there on the website and check again. Another fact is that a lot of the funds raised globally flew to Switzerland last year. So last year, as you might know, especially end of the year, November, was a huge hype around ICOs. And 4 of the top 10 ICOs, so roughly 48% of the funds of the 10 biggest ICOs last year have been conducted in Switzerland. And roughly 1/4 of the raised funds globally have been raised through ICOs which happened in Switzerland. This is amazing. And actually I thought, because of several reasons which I will talk a bit later, that this will slow down this year. But as you know, the opposite happened. So already we have seen now this year almost 8 billion of raised funds through ICOs, which is already more than double than last year. I know this statistic is a bit difficult because there's some very big ones in there. So with all this, Crypto Valley, so Liechtenstein and Switzerland, they evolved very fast under this umbrella and brand Crypto Valley. And as you can see here some impressive facts. There are more than 480 companies building the ecosystem already. And our company is checking this. So Inacta is actually a very normal service provider. We are a 9-year-old company, almost 50 software engineers more or less. Always have been in the consultancy and also enterprise content management system, but since 2 years we're also in the blockchain. And we said, okay, in order to have a good, let's say, prospering business in blockchain, we need also to take care of the ecosystem, which is just now fostering. So we do a lot for the ecosystem as well, with events, and I will talk a bit later about that. But we also created the cryptovalley.directory. So it's an URL you can check. And why we did this? Because we have been curious ourselves how many people and companies are working in the space, but we also needed, for political reason in discussions internally, so in national discussion for Switzerland and Liechtenstein, but also to show abroad that tangible how many people are working in this ecosystem. Because there are a lot of other hubs around there. You for sure heard for Singapore, Malta and others, and Dubai. But no one knows how many companies are really working there. And so we wanted to have a fact-based database, and we check it that all the companies are really registered in the commercial register of Liechtenstein and Switzerland, and working in the blockchain space. Then we have an association which is called Crypto Valley Association, and there are already 650 members registered. So it's a bit holistic or homogeneous in Switzerland. Even though Switzerland and Liechtenstein, the companies are spread over the whole countries, you see 2 hubs the most important hub is Zug. Zug is half an hour away from Zurich. Very lovely small city, 30,000 inhabitants. And why it happened there? Somebody knows? Exactly. So Ethereum Foundation, UVO landed there, and with this, a lot of small startups popped out there around the Ethereum Foundation. This is one very important reason, and why. You could ask as the next question: Ethereum landed there. A lot of reasons for that. For sure, one is the reasons I just said before, but the other one, very important, is also for the tax laws in Zug. Zug has very low tax rates. There was a question over there.
No, I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, so it's tax and also other laws when you make a foundation, which are helping. And the other thing was also what was very important, that it is in the central of Europe, so half an hour from Zurich airport, and then you are all over the space very fast. And that the laws, and they're quite stable in Switzerland. Well, the same we have here, of course, but this was some of the reasons why, for instance, Ethereum decided to come to this space. Actually, other organizations, they had quite similar criteria, and the decision then was made to come to Switzerland. Another one, actually, also, especially for those kind of startups in the blockchain area, because one of the key beliefs of a lot of blockchain gurus is the decentralization, right? And Switzerland, with the political system, with the direct democracy, is totally decentralized. And the consensus, for instance, is something which is in our political system. The consensus algorithm, however you want to call it. But we are truly decentralized. The power is, whenever possible, is given to the edges and not centralized at all. So this was also something in the thinking of them, that so the people already think in this kind of concepts. So we don't know how many employees actually are working in this field, because it's very difficult to understand how many people are really working in the projects, and how many are really working in Switzerland. But it is something we want to find out, and we are working together with Crypto Valley Association to find out this a bit more. So, come to the dark side. So ICO, it's the venture capital opportunity. I'm sure you have seen this picture already. We use it also since 2 years. Now, this morning, I just saw a different one about the soccer, a German team. What we say, ICO, and at least last year, it was really like crowdfunding on steroids. It felt like this. But can I ask in this room, how many of you are in a startup right now, working for a startup? And how many of you want or are doing an ICO or have done already? Okay, so I skipped only 2 people. No, it was a joke. So let's dig a bit more than in ICO, what is basically, what is the concept of an ICO? The ICO is basically a crowdfunding concept, right? So there are a lot of crowdfunding platform out there through the digitalization. A lot of them arise, but it's actually the same. It's just a bit different in terms how you collect the funds. And when it all started with the ICO, it was basically only that you collected cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin or Ether usually, and through the smart contracts and the distributed ledger, it was very simple to do so, very transparent, very efficient. But also there was a lot of things which have not been so good, and I will talk about this in a minute. So basically, what an ICO does is, when you want to invest, you spend some cryptocurrency tokens on a wallet, and for this you get tokens of this project. Very simple, and we will go a little bit more deep into what does this mean. And with the funds, the project team usually, if they get the funds at the very end, build a solution, at least an MVP, and start a business. So the opportunity there is basically it's a new kind of a capital venture engine. So this is a normal process when you go through a VC process. It's quite long. You have also a lot of talks to do, convince the investors. And you go through different rounds with different milestones, right? And for the very big ones, usually you have to go to Silicon Valley, because in Europe you don't see a lot of venture capital for the large tickets. And what basically happens with the ICO, and especially last year, you don't need the capital firms, the venture capital firms, and it's much faster. If you're lucky and collect like 200 millions or 500 or 50 millions. And we have seen last year ICOs, they just had collected a huge number of money within a month or so. And as a matter of fact also, as I already said, a lot of money was collected, almost 8 billion already this year. And this is amazing, I think. And a lot of institutional investors also look now more into the space. But there's also another side. And we have seen a lot of fraud, scamming, and things like that last year. And we also have seen that the exchange rates and the valuation of the cryptocurrencies went down a lot since December last year. And what happened with this is also that the crypto millionaires, so the guys who invested very early in the cryptos, like 2012, 14, they have been reluctant to invest. So they hold a bit more, they hodl again. They're waiting for better times, so they're not so willing to invest. And then the other thing is, as I just showed, there's so many ICOs going on right now. You have to make a huge noise to be heard. Your story and your project has to be absolutely convincing and compelling. You really have to solve a business need. And you also need to go through a lot of channels. So last year there have been 2 or 3 or 5, or let's say a dozen different conferences or events. You went there and then you have been done. You could put your message out there and all the people knew you, what you do, and then the money flew in. But this is not anymore. There are too many conferences, and they're super expensive, and there are also ICO races and however they are called, and you have to pay just to be considered and so on. And so to collect the money gets more expensive as well also for this. And then we also have the regulation, as I already mentioned. There's more clarity. Yes. It means also that the authorities are looking better into the ICOs. So that means at the end the cost goes up, because you really have to think what you are doing. And last year, just all the ICO teams said, okay, we are a utility token and we are done, there's no regulation. And it's not that simple. And we will see more investigations this year for sure from the authorities, market authorities. Already happened in Switzerland. I'm not aware in Germany actually, but it happened in Switzerland, and more to come there, and they will close projects. So what we recommend now is key success factors in an ICO, what we should do. For sure, we should not only collect crypto, but also fiat. This was not really so on the agenda last year, only for pre-sales. But there are platforms out now where you can do both. We do it, for instance. We have a platform. It's called TokenGate. You see the logo there. So there's a bank again inside of the platform, fully integrated, that you also can collect fiat money from traditional investors, because they don't want to bridge at the beginning into cryptocurrency. It's a process, it's too complicated for them and takes too long time and it's too costly. Of course, at the end, they need a wallet to get their tokens, but they get some support. This is one thing. then you have to be compliant. I was just listening again to a talk last week where a professor from the University of St. Gallen was speaking, and he's actually one of the, how is it called again, Richter? Yeah, judges of the court in Lausanne, which is the main court in Switzerland. And he's responsible for those investigations from the market authority. And he cannot talk about the actual cases, of course, but he was very clear again, don't do it. You go to jail. So please ask your lawyers and to be correct. So do it actively. And now what we see currently is, due to the new regulations, that more and more, and also because you want to attract other investors, more and more ICO teams tend to do security tokens. And there's a different kind of regulation set. And it's different in each and every jurisdiction. And you have to do this very good with your lawyer, what you can do, what you're allowed in each and every country in order to be compliant. Otherwise, you will have a sue in each and every jurisdiction later. So be very careful there. And of course, KYC and anti-money laundering, you have to do it. But also there, the platforms are out there. There's so many platforms. You just need to know which one is working in your jurisdiction. So because KYC providers, for instance, there are a lot of out there. They tell you, I do it for you for a couple of cents per case or €1, and this will not work in Germany, I can tell you. And security, again, is also not an option. You work with a lot of money, millions. So I think the process you implement, they should be waterproof. And it happened last year that they haven't been waterproof. So a lot of smart contracts, they haven't been programmed well. So too much rights for the administration, for the admins or criminals could detect very easily weak spots and utilize them. So it's better to really make very good processes. And again, you do it as a project team once in a lifetime. I think it's better to reuse something which was already proven it's working. The processes are well designed and they're waterproofed and audited also from other companies. Also important now, as I already said, because there's so many ICOs out there, you need the best user experience for your investors in order that the conversion rate stays high or is high. Because what happens right now, and I'm also, advising ICO teams, they go for roadshow because it's energizing and yeah, they're likely to go and talk about their project. Spend a lot of money for this also. But then they forget, okay, if I talk to somebody and it might be an after party and convince him or her to invest into my project, well, right after you have to hand over him a paper that he can sign or put him onboarding on a platform or whatever, that he starts to go through the process. And as I said, the investor will have to go through a couple of steps like KYC, AML, and others, and then he can spend his money. So this will take a couple of days usually, and not hours or minutes. And you have to start the process immediately. And if you don't have this process in place, the people will just forget. And if you come back then 3 weeks later or so, I think the opportunity is missed. So this is happening. So, and because there are so many ICOs out there, and some are used to invest, they also compare how is the interaction with them. They can, because they have already invested in different opportunities, cases. So you need to be very good there as well. And since there are now coming into space also other investors who invest the first time in a crypto project, you have to give them the confidence that they do the right thing. So better to use a platform again, where they understand what they are doing. They have a trust to do it also. And so again, this leads me to the point to reuse existing platform. And the other best practice, what we think is, sometimes some project collected like 20, 50, even hundreds of millions of dollars or euros, but you have to work with the capital. It doesn't matter whether it's crypto or fiat. Well, fiat is worse, right? Because we have negative interest rates or zero interest rates. You have to do something with it. And also with the crypto, you can use the volatility in the exchange rates, the arbitrage on the exchanges and so on. And who can do it? You can outsource it. You don't have to do it by yourself. But I think it makes sense to work on it. Even more if you have not collected that much money. Even more, I would do it. And you can delegate it, for instance, to a bank who's doing everything. If you find a bank who's also doing the crypto. But I think there will see soon a lot of changes. Any questions to this part, ICOs? If I'm too fast, just tell me also. Best practices in blockchain solutions. Why I put this is we get a lot of a lot of people and teams. They come, want to talk to us. I have like at least 15 a week. They come and want to talk to us. And if every time I could tell them, when I tell them I don't think it's a solution, a blockchain solution that the blockchain does fit, would earn like €5, I think I would get rich. So right now is everyone has the blockchain hammer and they think all the problems they see out there is the nail for it, right? It's for sure not the case. And the risk number one we see is that it's not fit for purpose, so that they select the wrong use case. And that leads to the best practices, so if you make it the other way around. For us, best practice or key success factor is how to find actually the right use cases for the blockchain. And I will dig into that in a moment. It should fit to a DNA, of course, because later on you also have to convince your ecosystem. The second one is, this is actually nothing new. We are in a software engineering environment at the end. So we are used to, or as a professional, we should follow a step-by-step process. And also important element is to develop a roadmap for your solution. You cannot just start, I make something and then try to convince your investors, and then you're there, you have money, and then you figure out what to do. So there, nowadays, you need to have a very clear roadmap. And what is also very crucial is at the very beginning that you start to build and foster the community or ecosystem. Because this is one main differentiator compared to the state-of-the-art software solutions we are doing. You always serve an ecosystem. And you have to convince them, you have to foster them, you have to take them with you through the process. And this is time-consuming, needs a lot of resources, and if you're in a corporate space, a lot of lawyers again, because you have to make a lot of agreements. And also the other crucial part there is, in our opinion, to have in place a right governance, that you think about this at the very beginning. You know for sure, because you digged a bit into the space, that Ethereum and other blockchain protocols, they're a bit suffering with this, because they haven't really thought through the governance model. What are the rights and who is deciding on how we innovate the platform, for instance, or where there's an incident, how we work with that. So this is the governance. A lot of things you have to think through, especially in the corporate, because there you put it in contracts. I don't talk about smart contracts. I mean contracts on paper, agreements on paper you need. And the last key success factor, again, with the reputation in the ISO is the same. Actively looked at your solution is compliant and specifically robust against fraud and safe. So that means, for instance, that you make third-party reviews and that you really look into the space where are regulations where you might be affected. So the nature of the solution should fit blockchain. And what are key characteristics for us? These are the characteristics we are looking when I have discussions with teams. These are the points I have in my mind. It always starts, is there an ecosystem they want to serve? For instance, I don't believe when somebody's coming, yeah, we make automation with smart contracts. Okay, why? I think the state-of-the-art applications we do nowadays might be more efficient than using a blockchain and the smart contract feature to do the same. It just gets more complex, I think. So I don't believe in it. I think there should be an ecosystem you serve, and in my opinion, should be 3 parties at least. So 3 different market participants with different interests. Then, yes, of course, it should be decentralization. This is something we believe in. You're looking for peer-to-peer transactions, killing the middleman. I come to that in a minute. And of course, you look for the distributed immutable ledger. This is one of the key elements. Of course, you need to know what you write in there. And then the smart contracts come into the game. So there's a huge automation opportunity. Once coded, it's almost autonomous. And then there could be a tokenization. So that tokenize assets, so physical assets, you make them digital and tokenize them. Doesn't have to be, can. And could also be that there's a token economy. Doesn't have to. And one tip is also, and we do it actually, intermediary organizations, or the middlemans, they are really interested to understand what is going on because they know their business model is at risk. It will change. And how it will change, what we think right now, and this is a slide which I have stolen from a guy from Six Group, which is an intermediary organization in the Swiss financial market in Switzerland. So they're, for instance, running the exchange. And so what is happening, what will change is basically they will look after the system and they will look how to evolve the system. They will onboard the participants on the system and work with the community, of course. This is the things which will stay. But they are not there anymore to bring the trust into the system, because this is what they do right now. Because the banks, for instance, they don't trust each other. That's the reason why these intermediary organizations are needed. And they also are not there anymore to solve the double spending problem. So the settlement processes where they are in the game, basically, is just gone. Because with the blockchain solution, this comes out of the box, more or less. So what we say as an approach, and we use it because we are working with a couple of corporates since last year, where we made proof of concepts and are now in the process also to ramp up bigger programs with sometimes 6 or half a dozen initiatives in the blockchain area. And I'm pretty sure that end of this year and beginning next year we will see serious projects in the corporate world, not only POCs anymore. Because last year and this year still, for the corporates already digging into the space, there always have only been proof of concept so far. And so what we say is start with your own value chain. This is the thing you know, like in the core processes here, and start from there. And then think through again what the blockchain could bring in. And there are like, we say them different feature sets, which we usually see with blockchain application. One tower is the sealed data. So because we are sealing information with the public and private key infrastructure, cryptographically, and this gives a lot of use cases around digital ID, private information, and voting. So you give back the power to the individual that they control their data and what is done with their data. And actually what I'm just happy what happened yesterday night in Switzerland is that the government just said they want to force now and allow that we make e-voting in Switzerland. And I hope, because there have been a lot of tests, and now the government say, no, we do it. It will be allowed. And I hope it will be on the blockchain base and not something different. Then value transfer, again with the cryptographic approaches, and the use cases you see are the currencies, the property rights, because of course in the blockchain you transfer and manage rights, property rights, and the ability to tokenize assets. The traceability with the immutable ledger, you have the capability to have very good traceability of all the transactions, and immutable. So with this you have the trustworthiness you bring into the system and the proof of origin. And actually we have done one of the very first blockchain use cases which is running since last November in production. And it's not just a POC for Partner Group in Switzerland, it's an equity company, one of the biggest in Europe. And it's a very simple process, it's a support process actually. What they have done is, it's an email signing services on the blockchain. So what they do with, they do a lot of huge contracts through the unsecured email channel. So there are agreements flying back and forth. Like, you know, I will invest into this company like 10 millions, signed in a Word document. So they needed to prove, is it really coming from the sender I know, and is the content still the same what he was sending? And we're using the blockchain to do this, okay? So we're hashing the content of the email and the attachments, write the hash in the blockchain, and with the private and public key infrastructure, we know exactly who is coming, from whom it's coming, and whether the hash is still okay. And the receiver just checks it with a very simple system. So basically, he put in the email, and there's a green or red light, and that's it. And they already have made a couple of thousand transactions now with this. And they're super happy. It was rewarded as the best project within the company. And the automation, as I already said, there's an almost autonomous automation possible with the smart contracts. So you will have event-driven payments. What we are looking at already since a long time, this is just given with the blockchain. And yes, of course, the execution of the contracts. And with this, what we say, just if you make a creative session with your people or your expert or something, this could help you to have a frame like this. Once you understood what kind of applications you can build with the blockchain, you don't need to know the technology. You need to know how you can adapt, how you can use it. This is the other step. And then you come from your side, your core processes, which you understand, from your value chain. You could start to find out what we could do. Okay? You can also help you to look outside the market, what is already there, to find candidates to buy, for instance, or work together. And so what we say, and this is just illustrative example, it's not real life. This one, we have done real life of this with other industries as well. This is just an endurance example, very old actually also. And then we say make clusters. Also decide here where you might see regulations. You could even highlight, okay, there might be a regulation, there might be a regulation. We haven't been in this space yet really working, but now we go in there with our solution, but there's a regulation we have to take care of. And with all this information, you can decide later on a roadmap. You can say, okay, let's make here proof of concept. Looks easy. So we understand the technology. We can do it with a small group first, and then we go for the bigger. So you can already start to do this, or you have different groups later on. So just prioritize, and then you go, and with this, you have the roadmap. Does it make sense for you? We use it. It's just one simple approach how you can trigger discussions with clients in the corporate space as well, specifically. So that's it. What I wanted to talk about. One more thing. As I already said, we do a couple of other things in Crypto Valley, and one which I want to introduce you here and also engage you is the blockchain competition. So there are flyers out there, and I'm asking whether I also can hang one poster later on. and I have more flyers. What we do with the blockchain competition is basically a crowd scouting of startups. And this year we are looking for blockchain startup in the finance area, so in the banking area, to put it simple. And if you are in a startup or you know somebody, they should apply until end of July. There's a website, and if you accept that, you go through a process. So you have the opportunity to talk to experts from the industry and blockchain area. And we narrow down to the top 10, and the top 10s, they can come to the blockchain summit, which is also what we do in Zug in November, every half a year, and pitch there for your ICO again, and then the jury will select the top 3 winners. And the top 3, they all will get 1 year free office space in the Crypto Valley Lab. This is a facility in Zug again, which will be rolled out throughout the globe, where the ecosystem is more or less sitting. So a lot of startups there. Currently we have 120 startups there. They are not all sitting there, but they are tenants. And you get 1 year free coaching from experts. So you can ask them to challenge you, be a sparring partner and so on. And the winner gets $100,000 with no strings attached. And what you also get, as at least the 10 ICOs who can also pitch, you get an unparalleled attention from the media. We did it last year for insurance. We had, I think, 117 applications from 31 different countries. And we really look for very early stage. You have just an idea, the concept paper, until you're already in the ICO or about to enter the ICO. So we are open there. Last year, the winner have been 2 guys from the university, the Technical University in Lausanne, EPFL. Amazing concept. And actually through the process, which goes more or less a half a year, not entire half year, they changed the concept was evolving, because they discussed more, they got challenged, and then they've been very fast adapting to the discussions. So what they handed in and what at the end with what they won was different. So this just to show you how this could help you as well. And if you're a corporate, on the other hand, and you think you want to dig more into the space, also have a fast learning curve, get connected to the experts, you can get a jury member there. If you're in the finance industry right now, next year will be real estate and then other industries again. But this year, if you're from the finance industry, just contact me, and we will see whether we find an agreement together, okay? Yeah, and if you want to explore more, if you want to innovate, I can motivate you, come to Crypto Valley once, come to Zug, see what is going on there, come into the Crypto Valley Lab there, drink a coffee, drink a wine, and connect to the people, okay? There actually are, every second week is on Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock, is a Wine and Vision, how we call it. It's a meetup. When you go on the platform, meetup.com, Crypto Valley Lab, you will find it. There are always a bunch of people there, like 50, 60 people usually from all over the place, startups, other people from the ecosystem, and they talk to each other, connect, and so on. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.